Thomas and Friends On the Go with Thomas is the latest episodes collection that I watched. I watched these for the nostalgia. Granted, they're not as nostalgic as the original Thomas, but there are still the characters, and I still find them to be quite nostalgic. And with this one, I'd say I maybe enjoyed half of the stories, and the other half, not necessarily badly done, I just didn't really care for them. So as always, I will share some basic thoughts about the stories and ultimately decide at the end whether or not I recommend the collection. This was released in 2018. It's directed by Dianna Basso with a voice cast including John Hasler, David Bedella, Teresa Gallagher, and various others. And as always, I will go through the stories in turn. So we start off with the fastest red engine on Sodor. James thinks he's the fastest red engine and nearly gets into trouble when he shows off and gets into a bit of a sticky situation. Great messages there. Every story here is quite brief. They're not too long, which I think definitely can work well with the target audience. And I think they managed to tell a story, deliver a message in a decent pace of time. James is a great character. Lovely characters here. I rather enjoyed it. Then we come to A Shed for Edward, which I also enjoyed. And I feel like I'd seen this one before. I'm not sure when I would have seen it, but it seems familiar. So either I've seen it before or there's another episode that's like it. Edward has to find somewhere to sleep, but he is struggling because he can't find peace and quiet. And there are elements of relatability there. And there's a strong lesson there for people who talk all night. I don't mean in their sleep, people who stay up to talk all night. And I think that's particularly important for young children who might be going to sleepovers for the first time, or anybody who's going to a sleepover, because I think there's this expectation that you're going to stay awake all night and talk with your friends. But if you've ever been to a sleepover, you'll know that there comes a point when you crash and you just want to go to sleep. But there's always that one person who wants to stay up and talk. So I think that's a pretty good lesson. And again, I really enjoyed the story. Then we come to Dowager Hatt's Busy Day. I didn't care for it. It didn't feel nostalgic. The story was fine, but I wasn't really bothered. I don't think it was the most engaging. I don't really have any other thoughts. I just didn't care for it. Then we have Runaway Engine, and this one was okay. There's a misunderstanding that ultimately inconveniences some tourists. A good lesson about getting the right information. I didn't think it was that engaging, but it flowed well enough. It's certainly not bad. I didn't mind it. It also didn't really feel that nostalgic, but I don't have any complaints. Then we have PA problems. There are problems with the new PA system. There are some good messages about how old things can still be useful, which is great. This one felt quite quick. I don't know if it was shorter in length than the others, but it felt brief, which is not necessarily a criticism, just an observation, but certainly it was fine. Then we have Hasty Hannah, which I loved. Henrietta is away, so Toby has to get used to Hannah instead. And Hannah is quite wild. She likes to go really fast. There are certainly lessons there about slowing down a little bit and going at a more acceptable pace. I just loved getting to know the character. I thought she was fabulous. And I won't spoil it, but at the very end of the episode, we learned something about Hannah. I didn't see it coming. It genuinely made me laugh. I had a lot of fun with this one. And it felt a little nostalgic. Then we have number 7, the last one, Unscheduled Stops. Thomas tries to be helpful by taking Bertie's passengers when Bertie is unable to be on the road, but stopping at the extra stops for Bertie's passengers is now inconveniencing his regular passengers. Will he find a way to make it work? I thought it was fun in places. I like the solution. I think the resolution for this one was really good. The story was well executed. Again, it's quite brief, but they told the story in a good amount of time. And this one did feel really nostalgic. I don't know why, but Bertie just feels so nostalgic. I'm trying to think if there was maybe an episode. I remember I had a VHS, and I don't remember the episodes except one of them involved a bee sting. I think it was James who got stung on the nose. Was it Percy? Oh my goodness, my memory is quite vague at the moment. I'd have to look for the episode. But whichever VHS that was, I think there might have been a story focusing on Bertie. And there's something, or maybe I had a toy of Bertie. It's irrelevant, either way. There's something about Bertie that's very nostalgic. And I enjoyed that part of the episode. So, needless to say, I'd say I liked maybe 4. 3 of them didn't care for. If I had to pick a favourite, I think, surprisingly, I think it's going to have to be Hasty Hannah. It doesn't feel the most nostalgic to me. I think Unscheduled Stops maybe is the most nostalgic. But Hasty Hannah, I thoroughly enjoyed. So they're my two favourites. The others are either good or okay, none of them. Yeah, I wouldn't say any of them is a particularly bad experience, but some are better than others. Ultimately, yes, I would recommend On the Go with Thomas. It's a fun collection. Even if, like me, you grew up with the classic Thomas, there are still nostalgic elements here, and it is worth watching. Some good messages, nice stories, really nice animation. Thomas and Friends On the Go with Thomas is a pretty decent collection.